All right, guys. So our next topic here brings us to. I just wanted to throw it in here because I think it speaks to a greater problem with Netflix more so than anything. Because we didn't get to cover this because we didn't do a show this past week, but I talked about the Jupiter's Legacy show back when it came out, like, a couple weeks ago, whenever it was, because I did sit through and watch the whole thing. I ultimately did recommend you watch it. And I said it's not as good as it could have been, but there was some good stuff in it. Like overall, I probably would have given it like a more positive rating than a negative rating because I felt like it was very 50-50. I'll just put it that way. But last week, when we didn't do a show, the news came out that Netflix has pulled the plug on it. But it was a simultaneous announcement in that they canceled Jupiter's Legacy and announced a spin-off series set in the world of Jupiter's Legacy, which I thought was very strange. Because like, why would you continue a show based on a show that you're canceling after its first season? It seems kind of odd. Seems like a very odd thing to do. And I even said it's like making a Batman movie and canceling the Batman sequels, but making a Robin movie instead. It doesn't really make any sense. Now, I forget what they're calling this spin-off show, but it's supposed to be, it has a really bad name. I can't remember what it is.
Is it Super Crooks?
Super Crooks, that is it.
Super
Yes.
Crooks.
So it's going to be presumably focusing on like the bad guys in the world of Jupiter's Legacy. So it is what it is. I'm pretty sure that's like its own comic in the Millar verse itself as well. So it's not like some random thing that they're doing just from the show and what the show set up by any means. And they didn't really announce if there were going to be any like recurring characters or anything like that. But the odd thing here that just kind of came out the other day is that after it's been canceled by Netflix, now apparently Jupiter's Legacy is kind of popping off on the streaming charts.
Of course it is.
So, and this is what I meant when I kind of said, like, I think this speaks to a greater problem that Netflix has, because I feel like they just cancel things too soon a lot of the times. Like, it doesn't happen like every other day.
They get a couple bad reviews though, and they just can it.
Yeah, it's like, they canceled the show. It couldn't have been more than a week after it came out. And it's like, you didn't really give it any time to even build an audience at that point.
No, that's a week. That's no time at all.
Like it's just, I just found it really weird. And they've done this in the past. Like normally it's like with Netflix, it's 3 seasons and you're done. It doesn't matter how good the show is, what it is, you'll get 3 seasons at most, and then they're going to cancel and pull a plug on it. Stranger Things has been the only thing that's really lasted longer than 3 seasons. And without getting the plug pulled on it.
But what the hell? Making a different show set up in the same universe of a show that you're canceling. Like, it just doesn't make sense.
No. And it's like, I feel like they're only doing it because they have this deal with Mark Millar. So they're just cashing in on it.
Right.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's their biggest problem at this point is it's not just a deal. They purchased the Millar world outright. They paid him for his entire line of comics and original IP. And they paid him, I'm assuming, quite a bit because you can't buy IP anymore cheap. Like, I mean, it's not like the old days where Superman got made for, page rates at DC Comics. Now you pay through the nose for anything just because of the potential of it catching on and becoming something later on. But they purchased the whole thing, lock, stock, and barrel from Millar, and part of that was he was coming over and he was going to be creating content for them and creating new comics and stories and stuff. And Super Crooks, like you said, is in that same universe, and so I'm not sure. It's odd that I almost feel like this announcement was more of a, hey, if you're a fan of Mark Millar, don't jump ship on us yet. We're bringing you more of his stuff. We're just not going to continue with this one particular series because as far as I knew, I thought Super Crooks was already in the works. It wasn't like they were bringing that on to replace Jupiter's Legacy. That was already supposed to be coming out.
Yeah, and like I wouldn't doubt they had plans to do it because, like we said, like they bought Millar Worlds, so like they probably were going to make everything that they possibly could out of it. I just don't know why, because I think you linked another article at one point that showed that, like, I guess there was some behind the scenes drama with like making the series. So I mean, it could have been
Yeah,
a little bit
that one
more.
just
Oh, this is the
yeah,
wrong
that one
one.
just came out today or yesterday. There was like some of the people at Netflix that had originally greenlit Jupiter's Legacy left before the production was finished, and the people that came in weren't as enthusiastic about it. And then there was also the original showrunner
Oh
was
yeah,
it
Stephen the Knight
Stephen
here.
DeKnight,
Hmm.
who was he was involved with the Marvel Netflix shows at one point, right? Anyway,
Yeah, and
he wanted a
Spartacus.
production. Yeah, he wanted a production budget closer to like 12 to 13 million per episode, and it got chopped down to like 9 million per episode on him. And he actually ended up leaving as showrunner because of the differences. What Netflix wanted to make, what the higher ups at Netflix wanted to make it for, and what he felt they needed to make it for. And so he left, and they brought in somebody else. So it just sounds like the whole production has been kind of
Flawed from the
like
start.
it not coming out gangbusters and doing great gave them the excuse they needed to axe it right away. But like you said, almost prematurely now, given the news that's coming out about how well it's doing now streaming.
Yeah, and it's like
Yeah.
I don't know. It obviously I would have been more excited about it if Stephen the Knight would have stayed on. We would have had a completely different show, I think, if it
Yeah.
was run by Stephen the Knight, because this show doesn't really have any DNA of a show like Stephen the Knight made. Like
That's what it
Well, and
seems like. Yeah.
how many episodes was it?
I think 8 episodes.
Okay, 8 episodes. You're
Yeah,
talking about a difference in budget between what he wanted and what they wanted to spend of $24 million. So I'm sorry, I know $24 million is it's a lot of money to most people, to everybody. But for a company like Netflix, who is going in debt as fast as they can, like I would think $24 million would be a drop in the bucket to them in terms of creating a show that possibly has a lasting impact and can be done the way that a creator of his, I don't know what the right word, magnitude or his prestige or brings to that project. So
yeah,
very odd place to start cutting corners and budgets when you're trying to launch it, especially for a new IP that you're trying to get off the ground. That's an entire company that you've purchased with the express intent of doing this, creating your own universe, your own thing that you don't have to share profits with anybody else. You don't have to license out to anybody else. This is all yours.
yeah. It's crazy because like Stephen the Knight did the Daredevil series, and they did
Yeah.
like Spartacus, and like if you watched Jupiter's Legacy, you know it's nothing like what Stephen the Knight's work was. So like I think the show, like having seen all of his other content and then watching Jupiter's Legacy, I feel like we would have had an entirely different show, and it would have been a lot better. In all honesty, I
Probably.
don't think it would have had the same problems that it inevitably had, because those issues that the Jupiter's Legacy had, I've never seen in a Stephen the Knight product. So I would have liked
Yeah.
to have seen him stay on, because I did like the bones of, like, the world and the lore. I thought was good. They had a good foundation. So I don't know. I feel like speaking of a company who just spent 400, almost $500 million on the rights to Knives Out, and they couldn't
Yeah.
shell out 24 million for a big
To keep
superhero property thing. Like,
Right.
to keep their handpicked guy happy and
yeah,
the guy that's brought them so much acclaim with the Marvel projects. Yeah.
yeah, it's just
Just
very odd.
odd choice.
Yeah, it's
Very
extremely odd
strange.
from the start. And then now seeing that I'm sure they probably don't care, because it's like it's Netflix. But I'd be kicking myself if I was them, if I'm seeing how successful it's actually doing, even with it being bad. Like,
Yeah.
And that's the other thing. Like Netflix is also the company that's supposed to be like, I don't know, the company that embraces things that other people typically don't want, or like
Right.
they are so quick to axe things, but yet they're so quick to go out and like pick up Lucifer. Now, Lucifer is a great show. I'm not saying they shouldn't have picked up Lucifer.
No.
Lucifer is a phenomenal show and
love
it
that show.
deserved to be continued. But they're also the company that goes out and finds these shows that other people have said aren't profitable or they don't want, and they bring them in and they give them another life on Netflix, and like they aren't that own way with their own. It's a very odd business model that
It
they're
is.
following.
Yeah.
It is. I don't understand where they're going with, because they've saved Lucifer 3 times now, and I couldn't be happier about it because that's one of my favorite shows. Because they saved it from Fox after Fox canceled it to do one more season, but then it did so good they brought it back for season 5, because they saved it after season 3, so they did season 4. It was supposed to end, and it was so good they're like, okay, we'll get everybody back to season 5, and it was supposed to be the end, and then they renewed it for season 6 because it keeps doing so good. So that saved the show 3 damn times, and I'm really happy because that's like one of my favorite shows to watch, because Tom Ellis is like amazing as Lucifer. He's like the best character on television. Like I would pay to watch him just be Lucifer for forever. I don't care. Like he's so good in the role. Like I loved the only good thing about that crossover of the
Crisis on Infinite
Crisis
Earths,
was that he popped in for 2 seconds with Constantine, because they're in the
that was a
same
great
universe from the
interaction.
comics. So it's like I would love to see them, dude. If they could just do a Constantine show and bring it back, and then
Or
like
have
have
the people
him come
that do
in.
Lucifer, to have the people that do Lucifer also do a Constantine show, and then just cross them over occasionally.
Yeah, dude, it'd be great. Like I'd pay to watch it. Like why the hell not?
Right.
But yeah, it's super strange though, that contrast between let's save a show that wasn't even ours 3 times now.
Yeah.
But then this big property,
we're not going to give
Axit
that we went out and
purchased.
purchased. Yeah, we're not going to give it more than 2 or 3 days to show us that it's viable. Like
we'll give it a week, and then we're going to cancel it. Like it's I don't know.
At that point,
so
it's almost like they knew they were canceling it. It's just like, we'll give it a week. Like,
I would say like it's the behind the scenes stuff that primarily led to this, but like you said, this is endemic of a problem that Netflix has had from the get-go. Like, what was the Anthony Mackie show that they had out that did Altered Carbon? Like that did okay, and it got a second season, but
he was only in the second season. The first season was great with Joel Kinnaman. Joel Kinnaman was the lead in the first season. The show, if you didn't watch it, it's like it's in a futuristic setting to where essentially your AI is uploaded into like you're uploaded into like your consciousness is in like a little disc, and you can be plugged into like skins. And in this series, Joel Kinnaman was the first main character, and in the second season, Anthony Mackie was that same character. Just Anthony was the new skin. For the same person, because his brain's on a little disc, so you can go wherever he wants. It is the first season though; it was awesome. I really loved it. Like it was kind of
it got a second season, but from what I read, like even as good as the first season was, the second season they gave it to it just because they felt they had to give it another shot, and it didn't do what they wanted, and so then they canceled that, even though the story wasn't done. Like, I mean, we talked about this last year in season 1 where I think at one point we talked about how I at least I feel like Netflix is really in danger. Like if I was a fan of these shows, now luckily they haven't done this to me yet, but if I was a fan of these shows and like I really invested some time and some energy into one of these, like if I had loved Jupiter's Legacy and they just ripped the carpet out from the rug out from underneath me and canceled this show that I absolutely love, I'd be like, well, why do I want to stick with Netflix? Like, why do I want to keep, supporting you? And
right, if they're just
I
going
don't
to pull
know.
it out like that. Yeah.
I don't get why they do it, man. It's like Stranger Things has been the only one of their things that they like keep going for. I don't know. It's the first one of their original programs that's got a 4th season. Like I'm pretty sure, unless they have some weird offhand like travel show that I don't know about that doesn't cost them any money to make, but like none of their big budget stuff, big budget quote unquote, their flagship series, like I've never seen them get over a 3rd season. And it's like,
God's sakes, they canceled the Marvel TV shows.
Yeah, but
Like,
I don't
they
think
still
that was
had
their choice.
I thought, but didn't they still have no? Because they still had the license up through the end of what
They did, but
2019,
I
and
feel
they
like
canceled
like
them 2 or
I
3
feel
years
like they
before
leaned
that.
on them. I feel like the
You
big
think
boys at
so?
Disney
You think
leaned on them. Yeah, because they were
you
coming out
think
on Disney
Disney was
Plus.
like, okay, so you think Disney was like, you guys need to cut it out so that
Cease and desist.
Yeah,
space between when you end and when we start our own thing.
yeah. That's what I think. I think that's what happened behind the scenes. They probably just bought them
Okay,
out because like it was like
okay,
randomly. It was around the same time they announced Disney Plus. News came out that Netflix canceled all the series. Like, and
yeah,
Punisher
okay,
just got season 2 done, and Jessica Jones just got Luke Cage only. Well, no, it is 2 seasons, but then it's like Daredevil season 3 comes out, and it was amazing, and it got left on like the cliffhanger, and it was just
yeah,
canceled. And
Yeah,
it's like
that's
because
stupid.
they would have renewed Daredevil of all of them.
exactly.
Like,
People
like
love those shows.
they still want the dude to be Daredevil. Like,
Oh
I
yeah,
still want him to come back and play Daredevil. I'm spacing on his name right now, but
Charlie Cox.
Charlie Cox. Like, if I had it my
Yeah,
way, he'd be Daredevil in the MCU 100%.
Yeah,
oh
he's a good
I
definitely.
wouldn't care. I
good
wouldn't
Daredevil.
care what Kevin Feige thought about it. Like, I'd be like, dude, you gotta
Yeah,
get him
screw
back.
Kevin Feige.
Like, get him back. But yeah, I really think I think they leaned on him because they didn't want. Obviously, Kevin Feige wants to do something with his characters. Like,
Sure.
it was good for them at the time because they didn't have a streaming service, and now they have these big plans. I mean, he's got 10 shows coming out that are Marvel based. And at some point, he's even like Daredevil. He said he's going to be in the MCU at some point. It's just
Yeah.
I'm going to be upset about it no matter what because Charlie Cox and John Bernthal were like born to play those two characters. Like they were so good.
Yeah.
Like that's the only shame, but nevertheless, Netflix needs to get their shit together with this stuff.
Right.
Like it's weird. I would be before we break up. What are the odds you think they actually, based on Jupiter's Legacy's success, they inevitably do come back and do like they continue it in some way?
I don't know.
I mean, the biggest issue they have, at least from Millar's statement that he released after they announced the cancellation, he said that they've released all the actors and actresses from their contracts.
So it doesn't
So I
sound
mean,
like they would.
exactly. Now you've got the problem of those people. I mean, this is what they do for a living, so they're all finding other jobs. So even if like Super Crooks does well and they want to bring it back, there's no guarantee that these same people are going to be available later on to do a revival or do another iteration of it in some form.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a weird situation because I don't know what I'd want to do at this point if I was them. Like seeing that it's getting good reception. If I was Netflix, I'd go back to Stephen Knight and be like, will you come and do season 2 and we'll give you the more money because they liked it and it sucked. So you could make it good and it'd
They'd
just
love
be
it.
good. Yeah, it'd be good. So like, but yeah, since they've released all the actors, it's going to be a lot harder to make that happen if they wanted to do it at all. Because like even if they don't have like something else lined up right now, they're probably going to feel kind of shitty about it, and they're going to be like, "Oh, fine, I'll come back, but I'm going to want more money now." You assholes,
Yeah.
Right.
like But it is
You're
what it
bringing
is.
them back like that, yeah.
Yeah, it's like you cancel the show from me. They probably signed like a 3-4 season deal, I imagine, at least 3,
Sure.
knowing Netflix. So
Yeah.
because it's shitty for them for the most part too. But I mean, it's Hollywood. It is what it is.
That's Hollywood.
Yeah, it's not show friends; it's show business, right? But yeah, the question is though, what do you guys think of this? Are you surprised? I was actually surprised to see, for one, that Jupiter's Legacy started popping off like this at all after the fact, because, like I said, ultimately, I recommended watching it because there was like good stuff in there, but in the end, I wouldn't say it was never a must-watch show. You know what I mean? So it was very 50-50. I could see why someone would like it, and I could see why someone would hate it. But like I said, I was more surprised to see that it's popping off now. But what do you guys think about the Netflix? Like, if they see these numbers, like they obviously do, you think they're gonna maybe bring this back in some way in the future? You think they're disappointed at all that they pulled the plug on it? Whatever you guys think, let us know down in the comment section below.